Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing 10 things that I remember about primary school. So here in the UK we don't have things like middle school and things like that. We do it kind of differently. We have infant, junior and secondary school, and then like college as well. But these can be, primary school is infants and junior mixed together, so that's from the age of 4 up until 11, which is where this whole load of like things are going to be based, but some of them do rely to like secondary school, which is normally 11 to 16, but it can do 16 to 18 if it does have sixth form. If not, you'll go to college. So that been done and said, let's just get right into this video. So the first thing on my list is benches. So in assembly, when you're in year 6, you sat on the benches. Only in year 6, not year 5, not year 4, or anything below that. It's not reception 1, 2, 3 either. And I think that really bugged a lot of the younger people because they saw all of these year 6s on the benches and they're like, why do we have to sit on the cold floor and they get to sit on the bench? I remember this so much. I remember it so well. Even being in year 5 when the year 6s went on a residential or they went on a trip and you got to sit on the bench at the back. I think that was like one of the best feelings in the world because you're just like, we're higher than you, we get the best seats. I remember that and I loved it. I just think this was one of those really fun memories. The second thing on my list is PE mats. So here in the UK we have PE, which is basically physical education. For those who wanted to know its proper term. And these mats were about this thick, and they were foam, but apparently they were supposed to soften your fall from like when you landed. They were still like hard slabs of concrete if you jumped onto them. They weren't that thick and the foam wasn't that good, especially because they get used so often. Like they got used for all the years, so it was like ow when you went on them. And that kind of goes into my next one, which is paper towels. These are a weird one. Paper towels are a bit of a weird one. Pretty much, if anything ever happened, one thing you were told to use was paper towels. So if you'd hurt yourself, use paper towels. If you had a cut, use a paper towel. Put it under cold water. That'll help you with a bruise or a bit of a, if you had an inflammation because you got swelling because you fell over at break time or something. Apparently paper towels fixed everything. Or you put ice in paper towels and you put that on. That was one of those little thin ice block things that was so weird and smelled horrible. I hated them. They were good if I got hurt, but otherwise I hated them. Couldn't stand them. And the next one is pen. Just pen. When you got onto pen, that was like one of the best feelings. So this mostly relates to about year 4, year 5-ish. And in English, when you were told you needed to use pencil before you could go into pen. And when you got into that pen, you felt so amazing. Because you're like, I am a big person, I have got one of those pens. We used to have, I can't remember what style they were, but they had like left-hander and right-hander versions of these pens when I was younger. I think they still have them now, but I can't remember the name of them. And they were like really in. They got like little ink cartridges that you put in and you use them. They were so popular. Honestly, saying that, I did have one. I had a left-hander one because I'm left-handed. And they were so popular. I remember having them so much. They were like kind of like the best thing. I didn't have to use pencil that frequently, but some of them, like some people in my class used pencil throughout the year and you always felt sorry for them. At the same time, you kind of like were like, I'm better than you, I have a pen, you're stuck on little pencils still. I think that's always one of the things that I do. So the next thing on my list is the school disco. I don't know if in the US you have school discos, but here in the UK they were very popular. And to be honest, I think they still are. They're basically just like discos from, it was for like the primary school, like the younger kids, it was like a lower time. I went to a junior school and the disco was kind of weird. For like years 3 and 4, it was something like 5:30 to 7, and then the other one was 7:30 till 9 for like the 5 and 6 years. And that was so fun because it was like, also like, if you had an earlier bedtime like I did, you kind of got to stay up past your bedtime. That was like one of the best feelings in the world. But at the same time, all you ever did was either get your free food, which technically your parents paid for beforehand, or you danced and all you did was jump up and down, because that's apparently all the dancing that we did. That's one thing that I remember. And it's a bit weird, but there you go. The next thing on my list is the yes, no, maybe game. Now, I don't know how many people did this, but it's definitely something that me and my friends did. And it was write yes on one side of a rubber, no on the other, and then on all the edges we put maybe. And we would have a game of yes, no, maybe. So we would ask you questions like, will I have 7 kids in the future? You throw your rubber. It's basically like a dice. And whatever it landed on, so if it landed on yes or no or maybe. So if it landed on yes, you will have kids in the future, or no, you won't have kids in the future, and you always believed it. And sometimes you even did dares with it, like, should I dare so-and-so to do this? And they had to do it if it went on yes, if it went on no, if it went on maybe, then you kind of had that decision doing like rock, paper, scissors. That's what we used. Bit weird, but there you go. And the next thing is actually the chair story. Now, this story has been one that's gone for years. If you sat and then too far back on your chair, what was the one thing your teacher told you? She always told you, don't sit like that, because I've had a student in the past who's fell back and has cracked their head open. People still did it, didn't really scare them. Like, that was one thing in secondary school. People still did it, and they never fell backwards. Though there was a few times that some people in my class did fall backwards. Luckily they didn't crack their head open, but it was still kind of like, you stupid, you need to learn how to not do that. Otherwise you're going to end up with a cracked head. Although that's what all the teachers said, which I still don't think is true. Do you guys think it's true? Because I don't. Now on to the last two. And the first one is when you're doing tests. One thing that a lot of people in my class did, and probably most other classes did, was cover your work with your pencil case. And you always got frustrated when part of it was covered and the other half wasn't, and you had to go like this and write. That was one thing that I hated, because it was like, just let me write. It was quite funny though, because basically you always thought, what do I do now? I need to cover it up, but I still need to write. This isn't going to work because my arm isn't as thick as my pencil case. And you always had to get one of those really thick pencil cases to actually be able to cover your writing. That was always so funny, because I had quite large handwriting, and I still do, but it's not as large as it used to be. And it would only cover up like 3 or 4 lines, because apparently I took so much room with my handwriting, which was ridiculous. Or I left like huge gaps. I left like 3 lines in between each one for some odd reason. That was quite funny, and I do remember that. That was just a weird one. Personally, it was very weird. And number 10, the last one. This is a silly game that's more aimed at the earlier stages of primary school. It's like year 1, 2, and you possibly get up to year 3, I would say, maybe year 4. But this is Mums and Dads. The one game that everyone wanted to be the sister or the mum. No one ever wanted to be the dad. And then it's like, Sarah can be the mum, Noah can be the dad. And then you're like, what am I going to be? You can be the dog. You're the dog. Or you can be the baby, but I don't want to be the baby. That was like a hilarious game. And by the end of like break time or lunchtime, it always escalated to like 5 or 10 years later, and they'd gone off and had their own kids, or they're no longer living with the mum and dad, or the mum and dad died. That has happened to me once before. I remember that. I think I was in year 5 when we played it. We played some weird playground games. And another one's D to D, so on the playground you had the D, and then you had the D and you had to run across. Basically British Bulldog, but there you go. So I hope you guys enjoyed these 10 things that I remembered from primary school. If you can relate to any of them, please write down in the comments, because I would love to know what you guys remember from primary school. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!